Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and today's video is on this Saberforge Qui Gon Jinn lightsaber that I just finished up for Jake. This was a bear to build, not because it's complicated or complex, but just because how I wanted to build it, and because of the inside of the hilt it's a little tricky, and it's just one piece, it doesn't come apart. So at any rate, hopefully the wait was worth it, Jake. I apologize for the delay, but she's just about finished, with the one exception that I told you about earlier, whether or not we want to put a small hole right here to access the kill switch. But at any rate, let's take you through it. We've got your main red button activation right here, and then I put the aux switch down underneath, small silver button here. And this set screw keeps the blade connector in place. This set screw keeps the blade plug or the blade in place. This screw that holds the cover tech knob also locks the chassis in place inside. Down on the bottom, the pommel, I actually replaced this metal insert. Originally there was an identical plastic insert in there, but I replaced it with a metal one because it looks better, and because I broke the other one, just kind of looked at it wrong and it broke in half. But at any rate, so it's a little free upgrade for you. Down on the bottom, you guys see a 28mm JBL speaker, and we'll get to the inside shortly. But before we do that, I'll show you guys how it works. This is the blade plug that it comes with. Nothing crazy there, but I did do a Neopixel blade plug for it. Pull it out so you guys can see it. I did do the blade inset by just about 3.25 inches, so it sits pretty deeply in there. I did that to make the blade extra stable because I had the room. Really, there's no other reason for doing that besides, if you've got the room, you might as well. And this blade plug is basically a mini blade. That's how I did it. Standard blade here. It's a 7/8 inch blade with a 1-inch adapter. Go ahead and slide that guy in there. Lock it in place. We'll run through the blade array for you real quick. First one, as you can see, nice bright green with a white ignition. Blade drag effect. White lockup, white blaster blocks. Next up is the first few are all green, but different shades of green. That way you can kind of focus in on what your favorite color is. This is just a little bit paler. Jump back to the first one real quick so you can see the difference. The first one is like a lime green. Very, very bright, very green. Next one is a little bit, like I said, a little bit paler. Next one, a little bit paler. This is more in line with your Hasbro FX lightsaber color. Like a Yoda or a Luke Return of the Jedi. This is more in line with the color that they will give you. Further washed out. This is actually my favorite color, green. I think it looks kind of the most similar to the movies. Then I did a really heavy pulsing green. It pulses between the most pale green blade color and a 50% reduction to get that pulse. And then a really minor pulsing blade with the same color set, but just a faster pulse with less of a dig into the color. And then I think we're out of the greens. Yep, nice bright blue. Nice bright red. This is the Cornhorn Sound Font slow ignition retraction blade, but I did it in a pulsing green. With a blue flash on flash. And that's a really cool looking blade in person. Fire blade next. And I did a white and green fire blade with a bit of a purple blaster lockup effect. And this is also a really cool in-person blade. You've got your color cycle Tron blade, but done in a white to pale green color scheme. So as you see, when you turn it off, it cools off as it turns off. And when you turn it on, same thing but opposite. It starts cool and works up its way up to green. Next up is a similar idea, but color scheme changed around a bit. So it goes bright green to pale green as it turns on. Next up, this is what I call the Turbine Blade. It's a really fast color cycle. It works its way up from a deep sky blue into green. It's a really cool looking blade too. Rainbow Blade, because I haven't done one in a while. It's the Electricity Blade, because I love it. And your Battery Indicator Blade. That's the beginning again. So it's got a good representative variety of different greens, different styles of blade. As many kind of green blades as I could come up with to squeeze into this guy. So let me know what you think of that, Jake, if there's anything you want changed, added, subtracted, whatever. But it definitely has plenty of good sound fonts, all done with smooth swing and good blade colors. Now to the inside, so I can show you guys how this puppy works. I had to shorten the pommel screws here. These used to be probably a ½ inch long from the base of the pommel here, but if I had left them alone, they would have actually hit the speaker, and obviously that's not something you want to do. Destroys the sound and it will ruin the speaker pretty much overnight. So I took the pommel down a bit. It still attaches very solidly. It just takes less to screw it on, that's all. As I said, remove the CoverTech knob in order to access the chassis. And you just give it a shake and it slides right out. It's fully modular, fully removable chassis. And that means that you'll notice the buttons are all both still in place. And that's one of the reasons why this took a while. I had to design buttons that I could build into the hilt. So the red button is spring-loaded, but built into the hilt. And then the auxiliary button is not spring-loaded, but it is locked in place, so you don't have to worry about it falling out. No matter what you do, it's not going anywhere. And those guys trigger the buttons on the inside of the chassis. Aux button down on the bottom, activation button up on the top. This makes a connection with the blade connector on the inside of the hilt with this RJ45 connector. We have a removable 18650 battery. And just as an added bonus, I did do a crystal chamber for you because the chassis had room for it, so I figured why not. And I will make sure that that illuminates a bit better before I send it out, because I think the Neopixel may have just moved a little bit out of its proper location, but yeah, it usually looks quite a bit better than that. But at any rate, it's got a nice, just about 1-inch quartz crystal in there, and illuminates pretty nicely. 28mm premium speaker, Proffieboard here, main kill switch here, your wiring channel, etc., etc. And you can access your USB here. SD card is pretty much inaccessible. I mean, if you need to, you could pop the sound card out, but it is permanently glued into place to make sure that the motion sensors work exactly as they should. So if you do, you're going to have to put a couple drops of glue back in there to keep this guy locked in place. And then you'll notice that there is a bolt, or not a bolt, it's a nut. A nut, yeah, that's the nut, not the bolt. So there's a nut mounted right on there, and what I did was first insulate the board and then attach with some really heavy-duty epoxy this nut, which is what the cover tech knob screws into in order to keep this chassis permanently locked in place. This is a Goth 3 Designs chassis, very heavily customized. I think it's just a universal chassis that he offers, but it was the only chassis that I could find that actually really did fit inside of this lightsaber hilt. So like I said, the inside of this guy is unique, to say the least. I'm sure you guys can't see that, but the way it works is from here to here, you have just about a 1-inch inner diameter, and then right at this point, the inside widens out to 1.5 or so, but it also is centered, whereas the bottom part is off-centered, as you can see here. So the chassis can't slide all the way up past this point right here. The chassis, everything has to be located right here, and then your blade connector has to be up here. So you have to have a connector system that will allow you to do it offset, because whereas this is in the middle, this is offset completely. So to do that, you have to have a blade connector that is also offset to the middle of the chassis, while at the same time having somewhere to mount your power switch. And luckily, the RJ45 connector allows you to do that. So just about the only thing in the world I could think of that would actually fit correctly in there. So here is my question for you, Jake. As you can see, your main kill switch is here. And when you slide this in, the kill switch sits right there. So I propose, if you want to do it, it's up to you, put a small rectangular oval shaped access point right in there. Do it nice and clean so that it's not an eyesore, but that will allow you to turn the main power on this lightsaber on and off, which is important because otherwise every time you want to use this saber you have to unscrew and take off this cover tech knob and then slide out your chassis to turn it, to turn the main power on and off. And to me, that's just too much work. I mean, it's not really the end of the day. The whole thing takes less than a minute to do. But every time you slide this out, put it back in, you have to fumble around with it, so on and so forth. So rather than do that, it would be nice to just be able to turn it on, turn it off, and then have your on and off here, and not have to worry about it. That way, the only time you'd have to check the chassis out is to take the battery out to charge it. So that is totally up to you. Let me know what you think, if you want to do that or not. What else to tell you guys? I did polish this top section to match the chrome section here. The chrome section is nice and shiny, but the top section was actually a matte, non-shiny, unfinished aluminum piece, and it looked terrible how it didn't match the other section. So I polished it up to match the chrome, and now it looks really a lot better, a lot more consistent from top to bottom. And that's about it. Excuse the smudges on here. I think that's just something on my gloves, but the chrome is really nice on this guy. So yeah, that's about it for this guy. Thank you guys, as always, for checking it out. What's coming up next? I think I'm going to do a quick video on what I have in inventory, just so that you guys know what I've got if anybody is looking for something specific, because I always try to buy all the best stuff that comes out, even if it's not something that I personally need or a customer needs, because a lot of runs of lightsaber hilts are only done once or twice or whatever, and if you miss the boat, you just miss the boat, and you don't get to get them later. And so I have a whole bunch of stuff in stock, and if anybody needs one, I don't know that everybody knows what I've got, so I might as well do that. After that, at some point I'm going to get around to doing the Imperial Armor video. It's just every time I try to do it, something comes up. And then after that, what do we have? After that, we've got the new Dark Lord lightsaber. I've got a budget build version and a masterpiece version of those, both just about finished, and also a new MK1 that I am about 75% of the way done with, that I did manage to actually get a 28mm bass speaker as well as an 18650 battery into. So it'll be cool to see how that works out and kind of show you guys how that's accomplished, so that you can get a really good sound into your MK1 while not sacrificing your battery capacity. And that's about it for now. So thank you guys as always for watching.